Hey everyone, just wanted to do a quick one here about one of my favorite exercises, what for me has been a staple upper body mass builder for the last few years. And I wanted to talk about how you can get some of these same benefits too if you're interested in trying it. So obviously the exercise in question here is a weighted push-up. In most of these videos I'll be using weight vests, but you'll see that I'll use plates and other things too at points. Either way, weighted push-ups I think are one of the better exercises we can be doing for the upper body. Whether you're a serious gym goer or a devotee of weighted calisthenics and weight vest training, I believe it's a mistake to skip weighted push-ups. Weighted push-ups should be a staple upper body exercise, like I said. Why? They're simple and they work. Weighted push-ups are an excellent mass and strength builder for the upper body. Done properly for 10 to 20 sets per week within 1 to 3 repetitions of muscular failure. Weighted push-ups can add kind of that desired slab of muscle to your upper body across the chest and the triceps. It's easy to bias this exercise for the upper chest if that's a weak point for you. And it also fits neatly into calisthenic circuit training for maximum time savings. If you're following these best practices for resistance training, then all we're doing by switching to weighted push-ups is using the amount of weight that allows us to reach failure between 6 to 30 repetitions per set, which shouldn't be too complicated to figure out, although I'll have to do a video about that at another point. And first, before we get too into it, I want to address a common concern. Whenever I bring up to people that this is probably my main pressing exercises these days, especially serious, folks who lift weights like I used to be, they almost kind of hang their head and go, oh. So the concern is, aren't weighted push-ups for sissies? I think there exists a notion in the lifting world that push-ups are a beginner's exercise. While it's true that basic bodyweight exercises like push-ups and squats are a great place to start our fitness journey, folks tend to become very efficient on those exercises once they become just a little bit stronger than they started. You'll find that lifters who are capable of cranking out dozens and dozens of reps, effectively turning push-ups into a poor substitute for a conditioning exercise. You may even be one of these people. I know I was at some point. These lifters usually slashing the range of motion by using a really wide grip and not locking out the reps at the top. They're also generally aiming for rep goals, I've found, thereby missing the point of the exercise. So I would submit to you that those people likely haven't ever taken weighted push-ups seriously, and probably haven't actually made adjustments to their push-ups to bias them towards hypertrophy and strength building. So rather than switching to glorified party trick exercises like, one-arm push-ups and fingertip push-ups and all sorts of things like that, I recommend simply making push-ups harder by adding weight. So the benefits of weighted push-ups. First, it just does have a better range of motion than a bench press. A lot of folks I speak with on this issue haven't really thought this one through. I think honestly I was doing this exercise for a little while before I started to figure this out. Weighted push-ups, they just do have a greater range of motion than the bench presses. This is for two reasons. One, the bottom is lower, so in the bench press you're arching your back to get tight, thus limiting the depth the bar can travel. The bar stops at the height of the lower sternum or the upper stomach. In push-ups, you're using a flat back, allowing you to bring the hands all the way down to the level of the chest and pressing the chest against the floor or the ground, making the bottom lower. And then the top is higher. In the bench press, we're stopping the range of motion as soon as the elbows are straightened, but the scapula remain pinned behind the back. Those of you guys who lift know exactly what I'm talking about. And this allows you to stay tight in order for the next rep. In the bench press, that's the proper technique. Whereas in the push-up, we're allowing the scapula to rotate forward in order to get a good squeeze at the top, bringing in extra muscle groups, as well as just increasing the range of motion. So both of these differences allow for a couple of extra inches at the bottom and the top of the rep respectively, leading to a significantly greater range of motion. We can further extend the range of motion in the push-up in simple ways by using push-up handles or weight plates to elevate the hands. On a bench press, we'd need to switch to an expensive specialty bar like a camber bar or a buffalo bar in order to achieve this effect. This is a totally okay solution, but certainly not a cost-effective one or a portable one. The next benefit I want to talk about is how easy it is to hit the upper chest with a push-up. with a weighted push-up, really any push-up. The push-up is extremely simple to modify to bias the stress towards the upper chest. All we really need to do is narrow the grip to create the desired angle between the humerus and the torso, about a 45-degree angle. We need to elevate the butt slightly in order to create a decline angle between the torso and the ground. This can be achieved either by elevating your feet on a bench in a classic decline push-up or just raising your butt. The last thing is to imagine pressing upward and inward in almost a triangular motion, kind of desiring to end with your hands directly below your nose, squeezing at the top of the rep. And that's it. If you've never felt your upper chest in a push-up, it'll shock you how these simple modifications will bias the stress towards the upper chest. Combine these cues with elevated feet, as I mentioned earlier, in order to modulate the stress according to your goals and your strength level. The next benefit I want to discuss is that weighted push-ups tend to be just more joint-friendly than dips on average. The other obvious compound exercise to substitute for push-ups would be dips. In fact, folks looking to specifically to build strength from weighted calisthenics often ask me which is better, push-ups or dips. While there's some nuance to the answer, one big factor is to consider that weighted push-ups, whether weighted or unweighted, tend to be more joint-friendly on average. I say on average because I acknowledge that everyone's different, so please don't hear this and think that I'm saying dips are dangerous or dips are bad. They aren't. They're awesome, and I love them and I do them. Weighted dips, body weight dips, great exercises, but a lot of us, myself included, our shoulders and sternums don't tolerate dips very well if we're just doing them, hammering them all the time. I'm one of these people, as I said, if I start doing weighted dips more than once per week, especially heavy, I start to develop nagging pains in the shoulders and sternum. What's the solution? Spend the rest of the week doing weighted push-ups, which is what I've been doing. If you fall into that category, then weighted push-ups are likely going to give you a similar effect with far less trouble modulating the stimulus to fatigue ratio. The last couple of benefits, I think, apply specifically to the weight vest push-up, which is my personal favorite if it wasn't obvious from the footage you're seeing in this video. Ultimate portability and simplicity. Perhaps the most obvious benefit of the weighted push-up is that it's portable if we're using a weighted vest. If we're using a weighted vest instead of a weight belt or a weight plate, the vest can literally go with you anywhere. I've made no secret that I'm a massive fan of running in a weighted vest and then utilizing weighted calisthenics at the various locations I run to. I believe it's likely the most underrated way to combine cardiovascular exercise with strength training. Of course, you could achieve a similar benefit by using resistance bands, but then we're making a trade-off where the exercise itself becomes easier towards the most hypertrophic portion of the rep, which is the bottom. The last benefit I wanted to go over is just how fantastic this exercise is for calisthenic circuit training. If you've ever tried to do calisthenic circuit training, you've likely run into a couple limitations. Weighting and unweighting each exercise between sets becomes so cumbersome that you eventually just give up or it just takes too long. Or doing the exercises unweighted becomes a glorified cardio session. Where you're not really feeling the target muscles. Maybe you get some good cardiovascular adaptations out of it, but it's really not resistance training proper. This is where the weight vest really shines. The weight vest push-up, it's literally you're wearing an article of clothing, and then you do the push-ups, you move directly to your rows, to your pull-ups, your walking lunges, or whatever's next. You can even combine it with running if you so desire, which is how I choose to do it. So in conclusion, while there's nothing wrong with what I call party trick exercises, your one-arm push-ups and your fingertip push-ups and your planche push-ups and things like that. Those guys that can do that stuff are very skilled. They're very rarely as large or as heavy as someone like me. I personally prefer to simply avoid those exercises and just keep it simple. If you're capable of cranking out dozens of push-ups in one go, it's tempting to start working on those push-up variations, but in my opinion, do yourself a favor and simply add some weight to your push-ups. You'll be glad you did.